years of re-releases, Square Enix is finally remaking Final Fantasy VII. We just don't know when. Hey YouTube, welcome to the most amazing top 5. My name is Azzy. Sit back, subscribe, and let me entertain you. I want to know what's your favorite RPG of all time. For me, I'm really into like Skyrim and Morrowind. There's just so much to do in those games and they go on forever. Literally, they go on forever. So let's jump into our list of the top 5 Final Fantasy games. In the number 5 spot, we have Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII had one of the best magic systems in any Final Fantasy game. But any Final Fantasy fan will tell you that the core of any game is its story. And Final Fantasy VIII's story is one of the best the series has ever seen. In the number 4 spot, we have Final Fantasy III. Final Fantasy III was a great RPG, even though the final dungeon was closer to a dungeon from Dark Souls than from Final Fantasy. The final dungeon would run you through a gauntlet of overpowered bosses with no save points. It's enough to make you want to take your Choboko ride out and YouTube the ending. The game's charm and combat system are still enjoyable up to this day, which makes it a perfect candidate for our top 5. In the number 3 spot, we have Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI has some of the most beautiful music in the whole franchise and actually made you feel things. The scenes between characters were well done and hold up to this very day. On top of all of this, the game has 14 different playable characters. That is the most from any Final Fantasy game. Next up at 2, we have Final Fantasy X. While it had a great story and soundtrack, let's not forget that Final Fantasy X was the first game that let you play soccer. Well, not soccer per se, they called it Blitzball. Blitzball was played underwater with magic. While the game was known for some infuriating side quests and overall ending of the story left fans wanting more, which actually led to Final Fantasy X-2, and current day rumors that Final Fantasy X-3 might be released by Square Enix one day. In the number 1 spot, we have Final Fantasy VII. This may not be everyone's favorite, but a fan of the series can't deny the immense popularity this game has gathered over the years. The game was filled with emotions from both sides of the spectrum. Not to mention that Final Fantasy VII introduced us to one of the greatest villains of all video game history, Sephiroth. Finally, after all these years, Square Enix is remaking this game for PS4. I can't wait! Okay guys, I still want to know what your favorite RPG is in the comments down below. Also let me know what more top 5s you want to see. My name is Azzy. Make sure to subscribe and watch other videos and I'll see you next time.